Are you thinking about moving to the South Shore of Boston? You probably have a million questions in your mind. Is it worth the price? Does it have that New England charm? Is it too isolated? Are the schools really as good as everyone says? Before you invest your time and money on this move, you should really know what it's like to live on the South Shore. I have lived here my whole life, and in this video, I will talk about the pros and cons of living on the South Shore. I hope you enjoy. Hey, I'm Katie Norton. I'm a realtor in Massachusetts, and this whole channel is all about life on the South Shore of Boston. If you are thinking about moving to Boston or any of the surrounding areas, please give me a call. I would love to help. So without further ado, let's jump into the pros and cons that I think are the most important about living on the South Shore. One of the first pros that comes to mind is just the access to nature that we have. You have a coastline with multiple beaches, all different styles. We have hiking, kayaking, conservation land. There's boating, there's walking trails. There's just endless amount of things to do outside. Remember, this is the South Shore of Boston. So we are on the shore, and most of the lifestyle on the South Shore revolves around being on the shore. So if life on or near the water is important to you, then the South Shore is going to be the place to be. The second pro is that we have 4 true seasons here on the South Shore of Boston. We have a beautiful summer. We have the most stunning fall. We have an incredible winter with a few cons, which I'll talk about in a second. And then we have a beautiful spring, all with easy access to the beaches of Cape Cod during the summer, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, Rhode Island, Block Island. And then in the winter, we have all the access to Vermont, Maine, and New Hampshire for all those ski mountains. Even on the South Shore, Milton has a ski mountain, if you can even believe it. If you've heard of the Blue Hills, then you know that we have a ski mountain right here, easy access from the South Shore. My family, personally, we like to go up to the bigger mountains in Maine and Vermont. But if you live somewhere on the South Shore, which we did, it's easy access during any of the seasons to get up north. So there's the segue of my first con about living on the South Shore is the harsh winters. Let me just say, they don't really come in till January anymore. We have a beautiful November, December. It really is stunning. And then after the holiday season, boom, we have January. It is a long month. So if we get snow and we get a lot of blizzards or storms, it's a lot of fun. Living on the South Shore during a storm, there is nothing like it. People flock to the beaches to look at the waves and see everything. But after that storm, the cleanup is always a mess, and it does usually get cold in January and February. So in my opinion, the snow lasts longer than normal and it gets a little dirty. I'm not going to lie to you. It is not a pretty sight, but we all survive. And right around end of March, early April, you start to see little signs of spring coming, and then the first birds start coming back and everything starts to open up. So if you can make it through that February, March time, which is kind of ugly, I try to do my vacations during that time if I can. But becoming a ski family really did help us get through those harsh winters. Once we became a ski family and we started heading up north, those weekends of winter started feeling more special. So most people think of the harsh winter as a con. I'm actually gonna say it's a pro. So let's switch gears and go into my next pro. The pro is that this South Shore is an excellent restaurant scene. And I don't know what's happened, but over the past 20 years, it has literally became destination restaurant going. I mean, we have everything from the high-end restaurants to excellent seafood restaurants. We have amazing bakeries. We have coffee shops in every town. We have local restaurants, and we have chain restaurants. We have dive restaurants. We have everything. So any type of restaurant that you're in the mood for, you literally could find it on any of the South Shore suburbs. And that's the thing. A lot of the time you move to one town and you get hung up on their restaurant scene. But the reality is all the towns are interwoven very easily by the different back roads. And so you could be in Hingham on the closer to the Scituate side, and you could be 10 minutes from a Scituate restaurant that you adore, or a Hull restaurant in the summertime that you adore. So really, once you focus on the town you want to live in for the other reasons, the restaurant scene is going to fall into place for you. But that is one of my favorite pros. And my husband and I love watching Phantom Gourmet on the weekends, and we get so excited because they always feature restaurants in the towns on the South Shore. You know what I mean? So let's transition into another con. So one of the cons, I want to talk a little bit about the public transportation that we have on the South Shore. We talk a lot about the public transportation and how it relates to access to Boston, which is incredible. So any of the South Shore towns are going to have incredible public transportation that relates to getting back into Boston easier than driving in your car. But if I'm being really honest, when it comes to town transportation, I'm not sure you're going to use the public transportation to get from one side of town to the other. There really just isn't. There is a bus system that runs through Quincy, Weymouth, Hingham, all down to the South Shore. But you know, as far as running errands in your town that you live in or the abutting towns to maybe go to the grocery store or anything like that, I would say I usually just jump in my car and drive. And I think it's just based on timing. You know, if you're running errands, it's all different times of day and you don't want to count on the bus system. So I would say and the train system, I would say that those two things, town to town, are not the greatest. So I would consider that a con. And you would need a car if you live in the suburbs of Boston on the South Shore. You would need at least one car per household. This is why you do find families having 2 and 3 cars, because if you've got kids that drive to school and, moms or dads that work or have to get into the city for doctor's appointments, it just is easier to have your car. Having said that, I would say that a pro living on the South Shore is the easy access to Boston and the public transportation that we have. We have ferries that run from the South Shore into Boston. And once you just get into a cycle of knowing what time that ferry is leaving either Hingham or Hull or Quincy and what time it's arriving in the different parts of Boston, you really can set up your schedule accordingly. I think ever since COVID, where we have a lot of remote work, but we still have to have easy access to the city now that we're coming out of it, I think the South Shore towns are really still that number one place to choose if you're working in Boston. I really, really feel strongly about that. And then the train system for the access to Boston, we have the MBTA that has the whole Green Bush line that goes down all the way to Scituate. We also have the T, which is part of the MBTA, and so is the ferry. They're all run by the same system. But I would say the Red Line is the most convenient. So if you live on the South Shore, you might drive up to the Red Line in Braintree, Quincy, or, somewhere in South Boston. So that would be my pro and my con on public transportation as it relates to Boston and the suburban towns. Okay, so let's talk about traffic since we're talking about public transportation. And again, there's so many pros about living on the South Shore. I could go on for days, but the things that people who are moving here really want to know about is the traffic and the public transportation. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off and talk about it. Traffic is difficult. Traffic is difficult everywhere. So I'm not sure that if I compare it to another suburb west of Boston or north of Boston, I'm going to have any different outcome. But as it relates to the South Shore, there are different options for getting into Boston in your car. One of them is Route 3A, and that runs all the way down to the Cape. That is actually how we used to get to the Cape before Route 3 was built into the Route 3 that we know and love now. So Route 3A is a windy road, but it does do the trick. It gets you from the South Shore into Boston pretty quickly if you live along the coast. If you live inward on any of the South Shore towns, you're going to want to get on Route 3. And Route 3 can be tricky. It can have a lot of traffic, but again, it's just part of your routine. You get to know it. I know that I fill my days with podcasts and talking on the phone to friends and family that I don't have time to reach out. If I'm in the car, I can't text, so I have to pick up the phone and call. So I actually will take the traffic a little bit here and there. It's only frustrating when you have to be somewhere and you're running late and you didn't allot for the traffic, and there you are. So that's really all I have to say about the traffic, if I'm being honest. It just is what it is. So that leads me to my next pro, which is what I was talking about earlier, easy access to Boston with public transportation. please look into the ferries. Please look into the trains. Please look into the T. My husband actually does a commute from Milton to New York City, and he chooses the train over flying. It's such a nice way to travel. So if I know that I have to be at work at 9 o'clock in downtown Boston and I live on the South Shore somewhere, I'm going to get on the 7:30 train, get in around 8:30, have a casual stroll to my office, and that is a great way to start my morning. So I highly recommend, if you do have to commute into Boston, just looking into the public transportation. So the next pro that I want to talk about is just I don't know how to say it other than just to say it's a really easy, enjoyable place to raise a family. Whether you have adult children, whether you have babies, whether you have stepchildren, whether you have no children and you have friends with children and grandchildren, it is just a great place to raise a family. We have amazing playgrounds, we have libraries, recreation programs, and lots of family-oriented neighborhoods. Someone recently just pointed out that they were really excited to move to the South Shore because of all of the sports-centered activities on the South Shore and how the kids can really, it's really more than just their town sports. They can join these club sports, and then they're mixed in with other kids from other towns. So sometimes we talk about some of the South Shore towns being a little smaller and that very suburban feel. But if your kids play sports and they're on a club team, you're suddenly going to be interacting with families from all over the South Shore in the different towns. And I really love that about the South Shore. And you know, once you live here, any of the towns, they're all very, very friendly with each other and all very family friendly. So my next pro, number 6 of living on the South Shore, is just the excellent school systems. I talk about this in some of my other videos, so you can go check out one of those videos if you want to hear more specific about the different towns. But every town on the South Shore is ranked as one of the best in the state. And then Massachusetts itself is just ranked among the best in the country. So when you think about these South Shore towns being ranked as best in the state, they're also actually best in the country. They're ranked for so many different reasons, whether it's just the high level of academics, whether it's the different programs, theater programs, sports programs. Some of them are ranked highest in the country for sports, as one of my friends likes to continuously point out to me that Duxbury is ranked number 9 in the country as the best school system for sports and activities. So I know that if that means something to you, then you're definitely going to want to check out those rankings of the schools on the South Shore in Boston. That actually leads me to my con of living on the South Shore, which is the high property taxes. So let's take this one step at a time. Yes, the property taxes are high. Your home values are high. The land is assessed high. So the towns are going to charge money, taxes, for those high property values. But let's just take this con and switch it. All the pros I've just told you about, the beaches, the excellent school systems, the public access to the city. These are all things that your taxes are paying for. So in some ways, I don't mind paying a little bit more in high property taxes because that keeps the value of my home high. And when I go to become the seller of that property, I don't know, I'm going to want to sell it at a high value. So I'm going to want to flaunt that, yes, the property taxes are high, but look at the value you get. I've recently just seen Hingham renovate in the past 20 years, all four schools, elementary schools, one at a time. So it didn't disrupt anyone. They rebuilt the oldest school into a brand new building. So it's just incredible what they're able to do with their taxes. They're building another new fire station, the beaches in Cohasset, the parking lot, the snack shack. I know that sounds so crazy, but these are things that are important. And when you live in these smaller towns, this community vibe, the recreational programs, those are all done through the town. So if you're paying higher taxes, you're watching what's going on in your town. Your library is getting renovated. In Milton, we are building a new fire station. And actually that comes from a real need for it. But the reality is because the property taxes are a little higher, We didn't have to do a fundraising effort for it. We were able just to build a new fire station really without the town knowing. So I only know that because I live there. But again, property taxes are high. There you go. It's a fact. Having said that, I'm going to say I don't mind paying the property taxes to live in this beautiful part of Massachusetts. So my next con is going to be related to the high property taxes. And my con is very expensive housing. It is not inexpensive to live here on the South Shore. It's a fact of life. But if you're looking at this video, then you probably already know that because you've already done your due diligence and you've Googled what it's like to live on the South Shore, and it probably comes up as number one. But it goes back to all the pros. What do we get for that high property value? You get high cost of living. You get a lot for it. So as much as it's tough to swallow when you're first buying into the South Shore, once you live here for a while and you decide you want to sell your house, you're going to be very happy that these properties hold their property value very well. I'm not sure if I said it in this video already, but I have said it before. We are historically right now on the South Shore at a 6% year over year increase. So if you're waiting around for that property to decrease in value, as a buyer, that's not going to happen. If you're looking for something that is of value on the South Shore, which means it has good bones, it's in a good location, and you would be able to turn around and sell it down the road, then you are going to pay a high value for that. But I will tell you, as a real estate agent, and my clients can vouch for me on this, I will not sell you a house that I cannot sell in the next 5 years. And I have very good proof of that because recently I've had 2 buyers that have had to turn around and sell their houses pretty quickly for relocation purposes. And I was able to sell both of those houses in less than 1 year of buying in the same weekend that we listed it for well over asking price with great terms. And it's because a couple things. One, they bought a house that was a great value already. It increased in value because, again, 6% historically, and they put the right improvements in. So it all worked together, and I was able to, keep my word on that promise. So high cost of housing, but property values have historically held up well on the South Shore. So if you're thinking about moving to the South Shore of Boston, it's a very personalized decision. The thing is, you have to decide for yourself what's best for your family. But I would love to be a resource for you. Once I know what your family is all about, I can really help guide you to find that correct town on the South Shore. So I hope you enjoyed my video, and I will see you in the next one.